Hello, I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I wanted to make a short video to explain who is responsible for these sort of experiments being done on people. So I hear this over and over, the question of how do you know it's the intelligence agencies, other suggestions of alternative theories and so on. And basically I will say, just like the businessman Philip Kerr, who started the court case, Philip Kerr versus MI5, and he complained about exactly the same as I have. So organized stalking, break-ins, harassment, street theater scenes, echoes back from his private conversations, computer hacking, pictures of him being sent elsewhere over the computer, many other things. And he, including his big legal team, also came to the conclusion that the person to address the complaint to is in fact MI5. Now, how did he come to that conclusion? Basically what it is that you have to find, if you want to find the culprit, and if you feel that being attacked, so you have to find the other party for the legal case, you have to find an organization that has got access to an organized stalking network, otherwise known as an organized surveillance network. Well, that would be an intelligence agency or law enforcement. But then you're also looking for an organization that has got access to computer hacking, again law enforcement or the intelligence agencies. Depending on what your situation is, in the case of Philip Kerr, I think he also had contact with the intelligence agencies, so he went through and the intelligence agencies actually wanted to recruit him as an informant. So they went up to him and told him who they were and they wanted to recruit him, so for him it was very, crystal clear. But what this actually shows is that in his case, the intelligence agencies came forward, but they don't have to come forward in all the cases. But essentially it became clear that yes, indeed it was MI5 who were running all this. And also they have got close links to MI6, which is the Foreign Intelligence Service, so they also can pool, exactly the same sort of things if you're abroad. So, Philip Kerr was harassed not just in the UK but also in Thailand. So again, there was a flowing connection between Thailand, a very remote place, and the UK. But still, his legal team determined that it was actually the UK intelligence agency that was the right counterparty in this legal case. And that's because only the intelligence agencies have access and are known to have access to all these different things. So depending on your situation, if it's just stalking, it might be local law enforcement, depending on your situation. There might also be private contractors, and it very much depends on the scale of the stalking. If you're just stalked in the local environment, it could be that a private person has hired, essentially this ginormous national or international surveillance network seems to be also up for hire. So anybody can pay money and essentially drop your name into the hat, and then your stalking is being done anywhere. So it could be a private party, but depending on what is exactly done to you, the more sophisticated it is, the more likely it is that it is a bigger organization. So in my case, I had now systematic organized stalking in not just the UK, but in Germany, in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, in Spain, in Italy, in Hungary. That already taps into a very organized network. In the UK, I was harassed in certain, not really harassment, but certain sometimes trigger situations and conditioning, games and street theater were done by police officers in the UK, but also harassment was done by police officers in Germany. So we're already on the law enforcement level, but it's very unlikely that these law enforcement personnel would independently, by pure chance, pick you. It's very unlikely. I mean, there are also statistics about run-ins with the police when police don't behave correctly or do odd things. And then when suddenly this is happening in two countries, you already can tell that, oh, there must be some overarching system. And given that, Interpol is usually not in charge of harassment, but really is just a cooperation network and an information exchange of, on most wanted lists and stuff like that, international information exchange, essentially, on organized crime or crime. They do not, by themselves just run surveillance networks like that, but the intelligence agencies do. So, and they also seem to be able to control the police forces, and that has been documented over and over. So by the time you're complaining about systematic surveillance across borders, it's indicating an intelligence agency. By the time you're also complaining about fancy weapons being tried on you, you've got reason to believe that microwave weapons have been tried on you, and sophisticated hacking, or maybe not so sophisticated hacking, more harassment hacking has happened to you, your electromagnetic equipment breaks, then you're much more likely to be suffering at the hands of either an intelligence agency or maybe ex-intelligence agents who have been hired to harass you. And again, it depends on the scale. If it's very small and there are just few incidences, it could be essentially just a crack team being hired to harass you, and someone pays this as subscription, and then occasionally stuff happens to you. I mean, it's literally that bad. These systems are so big. But then when it's very sophisticated and involves lots of police officers and across borders and fancy military equipment, essentially, because microwave weapons are still military equipment. And when you're suffering from especially remote neural monitoring, now that is still classified technology, it is military research. It is much more likely to be done by an intelligence agency because they have got the actual contacts in the military, and they are essentially in charge of that stuff. So this is to explain why it is the intelligence agency. And all these court cases that are being run are essentially against government organizations and intelligence agencies. And if you have a lawyer, your lawyer can help you figure out what scale to pitch it at, and your lawyer will have also access to information that you might not have access to, so they can help. But overall, this is how to determine it. And then how can you be sure that after a certain scale, like for example, I have gone to the High Court, I have been physically attacked after the High Court hearing, I had death threats over the phone, I have made these death threats public, I have publicly broadcast this information, and this stuff keeps happening. I'm being attacked in a way that I've just documented. I had my kidney shot into after going public. Literally, by this time, by the time a person has gone to the High Court to sue an intelligence agency, I promise you, if it were just a local little harassment team, they would be absolutely shitting themselves. Because if you do that, you go to the High Court and you say, I am suing this intelligence agency because of this, and this, and these technologies are being applied to me. If it's then a little local private contractor team, they would immediately stop, because then if you went to the High Court and you essentially, there's no better way to raise an alarm with an intelligence agency than taking them to court. I mean, they will notice, right, because they have to send their lawyers into court. So for sure, British intelligence noticed that I sued them. Now, if then someone else would be harassing me in my Swiss home, these people would be cleared out within a week, right, by the intelligence agencies, because there would be a tap on the shoulder and say, hey guys, what are you doing? If they really wanted to stop it, you see, because they've got these ginormous capabilities. So by this time, I am 100% sure that I'm dealing with the intelligence agencies, because all private contractors would have cleared out by now. Because if they caused something that would then lead to a court case with a major government intelligence agency, whoa, behind the scenes, the intelligence agencies would grab the culprits and make sure that no more evidence is being generated. But then, like in my case, I go to the High Court, after then I get death threats on the phone, I get, satanic symbols, I get my computer hacked into over and over again. My website gets changed, the language setting of my website when I'm making it with WordPress is being changed as I'm working on it, remotely from the back end. Well, what this essentially is an intelligence agency saying, fuck you, we don't care. Look, you tried to go to court, but we don't care. We just keep going because you're nothing to us. We're just going to grind you into dust. And when that keeps happening, that's an intelligence agency. So it's not a little contractor, it's not a local police, because this is just far too big. This is now an international case. This is just so big you know, the only people who would do something like that would be utterly ruthless, totally, you know, uber powers, and that's the intelligence agencies. Okay, now there are also other suggestions of more unusual causes, but I'll put that into a video with a different title, and I will discuss those. So this is just to answer the question of how can you be so sure it is the intelligence agencies. It is basically because of the sophistication of the equipment that's being used on me. It is military tech, the size of the organized stalking networks, the fact that it has been tapped into in, I don't know how many countries did I name, 5, you know, 6, UK, Germany, Switzerland, Spain, Netherlands, Hungary, 6 countries. So, you know, that really requires me to have been put on an actual watch list that is international, which, as we know, is being run by the intelligence agencies. So there we go. This is why it's pretty clear. And then also, when all these unusual things keep happening to you and you're broadcasting it, you're going to court, you're calling the High Court, you submitted the complaint to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, you know, you're talking to lawyers, you're talking to police officers, and things keep happening, well, we also know that the intelligence agencies have these amazing capabilities, you know. I mean, they read all our emails, they can turn on the webcam, they can follow you around whenever they want to, you can bug your car. So the question is, if it weren't them, why don't they stop it? You see? Because it would be so easy for them to track it down. If it would be some little criminal group doing it, I mean, if I was, you know, an intelligence agency, I would just clear these guys out, like, straight away. I would either, like, lock them up, or if they were just two, you know, small fries, I would just clear them out. Problem solved. You know, my problem could have been solved last January when I went to the High Court, to the Philip Kerr's hearing. I went back to the UK, I flew with my full flight data, I publicly talked to Philip Kerr, and I said, yes, I've got this problem too. I explained everything to Philip Kerr. His entire court case was just teeming with MI5 agents and little gang stalkers and little, you know, misinformation agents or disinformation, whatever it's called. It was absolutely full, so there was no way, if MI5 hadn't known about me before, there was no way. They didn't know about me afterwards, but I just broadcast my entire situation to them. In Germany, I broadcasted to absolutely everybody. I even emailed the BND. So there's no way for these people not to know about me. Do you see? And you know how MI6 is like the all-seeing eye. They've got it, you know, also the symbol actually inside their logo. So, you know, they are the all-seeing eye. Well, you can't be the all-seeing eye and claim ignorance. So when this stuff keeps happening, and I told you, you're British intelligence, my husband is British, I tell you we're both being attacked. I'm a German national, I told the German Foreign Intelligence I'm being attacked, then I'm being attacked in Germany again. And this is the all-seeing eye that knows everything that's going on. Well, you probably also know who's doing this to me, right? Don't you? You must do. It's absolutely impossible not to. I've got the high frequency measuring, you know, the measurements now. This is happening. This is real. I've got the evidences out there publicly. I can put even more evidence out there. You know, but this is real. You know, I published the phone number from where the death threat came. I mean, any intelligence agency can track down who made the phone call. So when these things don't stop, it's because they are doing it. You know, this is what it comes down to. You cannot be the all-seeing eye and be all-powerful and then claim ignorance and not do anything about it. Because if you do, it's you doing it. You see? Simple. There you go. That's the answer. All alternative theories will be discussed in other videos.